You can control your subcontractors completely in the construction management method. You can also fast track your schedule. And if you form a real team, then it can make a massive difference. We were doing a job for Mercy University that was, their growth has been tremendous, and they realized very late in the game that they needed to seat 300 more people in their dining hall. And so they assembled a team to hurry up and put that together. And the way that, and we happened to be on that team, and it was with an architect we'd never worked before. And we wanted to be there from day one. As it turned out, it went so fast that we went to about day 10. By day 10, the structural engineer had already decided that he was going to use bar joists to frame his roof. Well, to get bar joists nowadays, delivery time is well over 12 weeks, and then shop drawing time for these folks is 2 weeks. And the point of it, that just wasn't going to work. And we could go to cold form steel and have that the next day. So when you have a team that really works together from the absolute start, then a lot of wheel spinning doesn't have to take place. The structural engineer doesn't have to kind of start back, and then he's complaining, well, I've only got about 2% in this job for the structural services, and so I can't afford to redraw much. If you work as a team, then you don't have that type of thing, and you can really focus on the problem at hand.
I just want to mention one other benefit of this. If there's a project that requires a skill that is really only one contractor that has, this is also a good way to go, because you're going to need to use them, and may as well use them in this fashion.
That's exactly right. The advantages of construction management is really to figure out what is first of all, define the problem. You can't solve a problem until you define it, and we tend to define problems too quickly. And you get more people around the table trying to define the problem, you can get a good definition. And then if you can have that same group of people really working to solve the problem. And I hope by a couple of examples right here, I'll be able to show you all really what I'm talking about. This is just sort of the black and white on paper pluses and minuses of these methods. Let's see here. Disputes should be eliminated, or certainly greatly reduced. This is important for y'all. It takes skill to select the right team and the right members. If you get it, it can be magic. If you don't get the right team, you're missing a lot of the beauty of construction management. You have tremendous flexibility in changes. It's not perfect by any stretch, but you do have a lot of flexibility for changes, and you don't end up, well, I know in state work, they have what's known as the stated cost limitation, and that's the amount of money that's been allocated for that project, and that amount of money is going to be spent. Come hell or high water, they're going to spend X number of dollars. Y'all probably run into this situation fairly often. What you really do want, what a good construction manager can do, is help the architect and the other designers figure out how to incorporate those dollars that are going to be saved into meaningful programmatic issues, and not a whole lot more landscaping at the end of the job. So I don't have good examples of that, but that's the real benefit of construction management, is allocating those dollars where they need to be. The cost certainly can be higher than hard bids because it's not a cutthroat environment. With a good contractor, I think that money is well worth it. It might be 1%, something like that more. I think it's well worth it for what you get. But I'm a contractor. Okay, design, build. You have a single point of responsibility. You're going to hire an entity that is going to design the building and build it. That may be good, but I will cover some issues with that in a minute. again, the contractor is selected based on qualifications and not low price. It can be slightly faster to build using design build as opposed to construction management. I don't think it's going to be much faster at all. It's the easiest way to establish a GMP. You can establish a GMP from day one and say, this is the GMP. We're not going over. And so that's a good point, but the price tends to match the quality for better or for worse. I think it's wonderful to have a tension and a check and balance between the contractor and the architect. As a contractor, I'm born and bred and raised to figure out how to save money. And I tend to be short-sighted sometimes when I do that. The architect they also are born and bred to make it look good, but they have a very good sense to me in a healthy balance. They say, I know that this ceramic tile floor is more expensive than what you proposed, but dadgummit, it is going to last a whole lot longer and be worthwhile. So if you're not careful and the contractor dominates it, and its price starts getting where the contractor doesn't want it to be, you might get lower quality finishes or something like that. So you need to work through that. And it's very difficult for the owner to work through that. It's hard for an owner to be sophisticated enough to know all the little minutiae of the details of the job to tell if he's getting good quality or not until after he's on in the building. So that's a very quick rundown of, yes.
How do you maintain control over the design? Do we hire the architect and engineering team, we take them through 15% design development and flip them over under your contract, or how does that work?
Now, you hire one person from the beginning. Hopefully you have done your homework and you made certainly a reasonable choice, and you sit down with them ahead of time and you say, this is what I intend to do, and then they commit to providing you what that intention is. Whatever you come up with in the way of a document that describes your intention, then they sign on to that.
Okay, so we wouldn't buy a bridging set of documents or something like that to define the job, and then
You can do that in the RFP. You do that in the RFP. We have a really good design build RFP that we do that kind of sets out the program for the contractors. But we also put in our design build contract that we get to okay their selection of architect or designer. So you can modify these contracts to whatever you want. We have found design build, I like it very much for like rectories. We're building a lot of rectories right now. I would never do it for a worship center, but it can really fast track a job for you.
You being familiar, I'll pick on you a minute. Is what I've been describing kind of?
Yeah, it's exactly. Sometimes you can kind of establish the GMP at, when they come back with their proposals.
Mhm.
They usually kind of know from like the square footage, what you kind of put into the RFP. So we have a pretty extensive RFP for our rectories. We know what the bishop wants to see in rectories. And then we wait until after the design and the pastor, because we want the pastor to rule like the finishes. So we do have a lot of say in design. You don't have to worry about contracting with the architect that way, but you still can have a lot of input to your design. And our RFPs require that, for the rectories, for example, that they come up with an initial kind of design. So design builders have to do a lot of work at RFP time. They were coming up with like initial concepts for your building, kind of the GMP price for your building before you ever hire them.
Yeah, so the presentation that they make, they may do a design in order to run the job.
Are there many design-build firms, pure design-build firms in the area, or are they typically associations or teams or whatever?
No, there are more and more every day. You can get a good shot at it.
Yeah, we've had
So
it.
then they have certain experience in building types and all that. And again, it goes back to the pre-selection who you're viewing.
Right, and that's, I get that we
No
get
matter what,
Right.
no matter
Yeah.
what system you choose, you don't want to lose that pre-selection.
That's correct.
Right.
And that's a good segue as to where we're going. The preparation that an owner needs. The first thing an owner needs to do is to get a good building committee. And this is my personal view of what a good building committee, certain roles that they need to have. You need, first of all, you need a gatekeeper. You know, they can draw out the quiet one and make the loud mouth shut up and, you know, that type of stuff. You need a big, audacious visionary, in my opinion, on every building committee. Because as I go back to say, a group comes together and they think they know the definition of the problem. And if you have a gadfly type or a visionary type or somebody that can really make that building committee think and think crazy, they may find that, you know what, the problem that we thought we had defined is not really the problem that we need to be solving at all. And the most important decisions that are ever made in a building project are those ones that are made very, very early in the game. And the definition of the problem might be the most important exercise that anybody can go through. And I'm going to give you an example of that in a minute. You need an accountant type to kind of pair with that big, audacious visionary. You need someone familiar with construction, and it would be great if you had on the committee a contractor who was not going to build the building, or a designer who was not going to design it, or, you know, or something like that. And this applies to whatever method you use. You need somebody who's going to live and work in that facility. The principal of the school is going to think about safety and logistics in a way that somebody, because they live there, in a way that somebody else is not going to. And you need young and old parishioners, and then you need just some plain old business folks that can sort of see things from that perspective. So the first business is to decide on the big picture needs of the project. And again, you need to be willing to dream. And I can't emphasize this enough. The most important decisions on any project are the ones that are made early in the game, because you just took a ship and you turned it in one direction and it's headed in that general direction. Now, it might tack this way or that way, but that course is basically set. So I want to talk about that a minute. We had a nun, and these are quotes from her, that what she wanted was a simple preschool building to replace the dilapidated trailer that now runs, that now houses, you know, her 3- and 4-year-olds. Now, this might seem a little bit too pie in the sky, but focus on the whole change in her vocabulary. It got really flowery, but we'll get the flowers down to the ground in just a second. She wanted a campus. This was a campus where Mother Catherine Drexel, who is now a saint in the Catholic Church, lived and worked. And it's in an inner city neighborhood, and what she was really trying to say here is we need a place where people can come, where people can be welcome. People of every faith can be welcome. People of no faith can be welcome. And that, along with a few other statements of that type, you know, that real high-level statement, that says an awful lot to a good designer. And it really sets the stage. So what they initially had in their simple preschool design, this was the solution to the problem. All right, this was and still is the main entrance to this campus. And it was flanked by a church and an office. Here's a convent. They had an existing preschool here with an addition, and they had some stuff back here. There's no rhyme or reason to it. The solution was going to build a preschool that had another entrance, And so you had an entrance here, and you had a sea of asphalt, and you had an entrance and an exit here, and I guess that was an entrance and an exit. And that was gonna solve the problem. Well, some big audacious visionaries, accompanied by some Jameson and a few other things like that, sat around and said, what is the real issue here? We've gone to this place for years. It's missing a lot, and we are patching our solution. And so from that concept of what Sister said, but how do you make it warm and welcoming? Well, you get rid of the sea of asphalt. You make it safer. You add security around the perimeter. And you really do create a campus. And so what they came up with, and I tried not to make this one look pretty than the original one, but they took a two-way entrance and exit and turned it into a one-way. The school building, which was up further, the preschool got moved closer to the existing building. The design of the preschool went from a standing seam roof modern architecture to matching the design of the rest of the campus, which, because the church and the convent and this school were all of the same design, had some cohesion. There were some horrible problems right here and here. If you move this school closer, put in a covered walk right here, you had the opportunity to solve some bad problems that didn't cost you any extra money. The cost of the paving went down on the whole thing. And so they ended up with a cohesive school, or a cohesive system. So, and they went from a project that was going to look like this to, that was the preschool, to the new preschool is this one right here. It matches this existing school. It ties into the convent that you see over there. The paving and the landscaping and whatnot is a whole lot more inviting. And in the meantime, you were able to, and it's connected, this is the preschool, and that's the existing school, and they needed to be closer together. And so that in itself solved a lot of problems. But then other things took place. Let's see here. We had a sea of asphalt. This is from inside the campus looking to what was the entrance and the exit. And you see the church right here and the rectory right there. That sea of asphalt, and you can see the porch back there. I'll cover that in a minute. Come on now. That looks like that now. So you got an opportunity. I wish I had a picture of Sacred Heart, not his back, but y'all seen the Sacred Heart statue before. But when you were out in the street of this inner city neighborhood looking in and you see the Sacred Heart, it's a whole lot different picture. And you have landscaping around it. It gives you an opportunity to landscape here and here, and you have sidewalks, and you've got 3-year-old kids that didn't have a sidewalk before.
What was the project looking at?
CM at risk. And the beauty of CM at risk on this job was the CM got in and drank some of that Jameson from the get-go and had an opportunity to throw in his 2 cents to the rest of the 2 cents of, and we redefined the problem. And so this was the back of the rectory, nothing inviting about it. That's what the change came to be. So you can sit on my back porch, come talk to me. This was around the campus. There were several places where it was just tacky. It's the only word I know how to use. It was tacky. And with not a whole lot of work, your eye could be